Dr. Kumar, the last time I interviewed you, you had just taken over as Niti Aayog head and the last GDP figures were dismal at over 5%. You said then that you were surprised by how low they were. Did you expect this uptick today?
Yes, I did. I've been saying for the last, I think, 2 or 3 months now. In fact, I said it, that I know that the economy had bottomed out in July and that the recovery would begin. And I had actually, in fact, predicted quite immodestly, I'm saying that now, that the growth rate would be between 6.2 to 6.5%. So one of your colleagues just reminded me of that. So I'm terribly happy that that my forecast has been justified, and the GDP growth rate has come in at 6.3. And I must add here that I see this as the beginning of a accelerating trend as we go forward. And the second half, would be, the first half is 5.7 and 6.3 is about, the average is 6%.
Right.
And I think the second half will probably do more than 7%, so that we will come in at higher than 6.5, for the whole year.
Right.
And that would be a very good growth rate for a year like 2017-18, when you've had 2 very huge reforms being undertaken in the economy.
Right. So let's see those forecasts come true as well, Dr. Rajiv Kumar. But tell me, when you look at the numbers today, which do you feel are the big positive indicators that led to this growth in the second quarter, and also which are still the areas of worry?
Yeah, the area that I am very positive about is actually manufacturing, which has come in at 7.3% in this quarter over the previous year, and that just has shown that the manufacturing has now rebounded from the destocking that was happening in the first quarter of this year. And there are several sectors within manufacturing that have done exceptionally well. The other area which has done very well is the trade, hotel, transport and communication sector, which is also, I think, got a growth of 9.9%. So, and that also, and that really is even better because the PMI for services, which in some sense is, forecast future growth, has actually improved to 51.7%. So you can see further growth going there. So
right.
Those are the two, areas that I'm very happy with. And also mining and electricity, they've done well too. The areas of concern to me are the exports. That's a real area of concern, because there the growth has been quite anemic in the quarter over previous quarter, about I think 1.9 or 2%. And this is where we need to put in a lot of effort. And Niti Aayog has actually just finalizing its own recommendations on how to debottleneck some of the sectors here, and the RBI should now do something.
But you mentioned exports, Dr. Kumar, but what about agriculture, which has seen another drop, is not picked up at all in the way it should have, given that a great part of the population of India is still dependent on agriculture?
Yeah, agriculture has grown by 1.9%, but in the same quarter last year, it grew by 4% already. So there's a huge base effect here, and the 4% growth, had come because the previous 2 years were drought years, so that the 4% was a really high jump, and coming on top of that, a 1.7% is not so bad. Also because the total kharif production, I'm told, is still about 7 million tons higher than average kharif production in the last 5 years. So it's not as if we are doing too badly, but it's the base effect. And then I know that the rabi cropping has been very good. The winter rains have been quite good. Most part of the country. So therefore, I see agriculture now going up even further. And just by the way, it is that, while 50% of our workforce resides in the rural areas, a much smaller number is really dependent upon agriculture production, because there is a lot of non-agriculture employment in the rural areas.
Well, I think the problem also is that even when they're moving away from agriculture, have they actually got employment? Because farmer distress is now a very real issue. And how is Niti Aayog looking into the issue of farmer distress, rising number of farmer suicides?
Absolutely, we are looking at it, and the farmers' distress will. We are trying to address it, and we are working very hard on trying to improve farmers' incomes. But for that you need huge structural changes whereby you can de-risk the farmer, you can take away the constraint of fragmented land holdings, and you can make the farmer a party or an equity holder in the entire agricultural value chain from the production to the processing, so that they get the benefit of all of that, because until that happens, they can't get, their stress will not go away simply by keeping, by increasing the MSP and keeping them confined to cereal growth, cereal production, as they seem to be doing at the moment.
Right. So one major area the government and the Niti Aayog needs to address there. But also interestingly, Dr. Kumar, whenever the GDP figures come out, the first reactions are usually from the politicians, not the economists. So while of course the government will say this is good news, proves the government's and the economy is on the right track, the opposition party, the Congress, has said this is just a pause, don't judge one quarter. West Bengal Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee has said that compared to Q2 of last year, which is at 7.3%, what are you celebrating today? About 6.3%. What's your take on this?
Well, everybody is entitled to their view, and this is therefore a free and wonderful country to live in. But an economy which has had two amazing structural reforms, which has formalized the economy in the way we have done it, with about 2.9 lakh crores in bank deposits waiting to be legalized and formalized in some ways, and the GST, which means that all our interest rate barriers are gone and we've got a completely new ball game. So therefore, with all those huge reforms, I think Ms. Mamata Banerjee would do well to see what Moody's and S&P have both said, one while upgrading our rating and the other while keeping it the same, which that they both expect the macroeconomic balances to improve. They both think that the growth impulses are now stronger, and they have both credited the Indian economy and the Indian policymakers for having taken some major steps and major structural reforms which have never been taken so far. So we are on a far more, what we have done, what is there to celebrate is that we have now put the economy on a completely new trajectory and a new growth path, which is far more sustainable, free of crony capitalism, and an economy which will be run by, by standard operating procedures and a far better business climate than what it has ever been done in the past. So she will realize that we have reached an inflection point from which we can only improve henceforth.
Right, Dr. Kumar, thank you so much for joining me tonight in 9 o'clock news.